Hey everyone, welcome back to Pick Six, the NFL betting preview show out of the Fell Football Podcast. My name is Ollie, and I'm joined by my co-host Liam. As always, time has arrived. It's the big one. Super Bowl is just around the corner, and we are delighted to be joined by analytics writer at ESPN, Seth Walder, for this one. Seth, thanks very much for joining, and how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you guys for having me. Happy Super Bowl week.
Happy Super Bowl week indeed. Now we have, well, between us, 18 picks remaining. The stakes could not be higher for this week. Liam, do you want to get us kicked off with your first game prop?
Yeah, I feel like first prop, why not call the game? I'm taking the Eagles +1. That is the current line. I actually got them. I took it like last week at 1.5. Just to get that, I'm going to take that rather than money line, just in case this does sort of go to overtime, comes down to a 2 point play. Obviously, 1.5. If that's going to likely be the result if it does come down to a 2 point play. So yeah, Eagles cover on the 1.5 if that situation. But yeah, I think they get revenge here for 2 years ago, end this Chiefs dynasty. I mean, no one in the NFC has been able to stop Saquon Barkley. I can't see the Chiefs just suddenly be able to shut them down completely. I think the Eagles do actually have the better roster overall as well. Checking the injury report there, Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickinson were both full participants in Wednesday's session, which is huge for the Eagles. They're a much better running team, much better offensive team when those two are in. And a little stat I saw here: teams with the better playoff seeds. Obviously, this is the Chiefs. They're 2-16-2 in the last 20 Super Bowls against the spread, which was quite surprising. So yeah, I'm going to go here with the Eagles plus the 1.5.
Seth, do you want to get us kicked off with your first one?
Sure. So, if folks remember from last time, what I focus on a lot with betting is sacks, and that's I have my sacks model that I follow, and I mostly do player props. But for these game props, I do have a team sack model. I'm going to kick off with that. The rest of my game props will be vibes based, but this one I have a number for. So Chiefs under 3.5 team sacks. It's -145 at ESPN Bet. This has actually moved substantially away from me, which maybe it's a bad sign, but either way, I guess we're getting more value now, or a better price now. I make the fair price here -231. So look, sacks are driven by quarterbacks. I talk about that a lot. And Jalen Hurts does have a problem taking sacks. He has like a 9% sack rate in the regular season. It's higher than average, despite the fact that he plays behind a good offensive line. But they do have a good offensive line, and I also think that the Chiefs. I think Chris Jones is a major threat, but outside of him, I'm not overly worried about anybody else. George Karlaftis is solid, but he's not elite. And more than anything, the way that my model prices this, which is based on, considering all those factors, the pass rush of the defense, the spread, the fact that Hurts takes sacks a lot. It prices the under here at -231. So big difference from the market at -145.
Great stuff. Can always count yourself to bring the sacks evidence. I love to see
Oh, we're
it.
not done. We're not done for
I,
sure.
yeah, I'm buzzing for it. Trust me. All right, cool. Liam, you'll take the Eagles. I'm taking the Chiefs. Just sort of look, as much as I would love the Eagles to win this, I just think when you take into account all the sort of tangibles that usually lead a team to victory in the Super Bowl, I've just got the Chiefs above the Eagles in a lot of them, and especially in the important ones. Skill player positions I'll give to the Eagles, but do we really ever see them get the best out of themselves? AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, obviously probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the league, but the QB hurts. The game plan for the Eagles a lot of the time is to run the ball. They don't see a lot of the ball in that way. On the coaching side, look, obviously Vic Fangio having he's a huge reason this defense has been so good in Philadelphia. But Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, probably probably the best coordinator duo in the league. Still very unsure how Spagnuolo's avoided, I would say, at this rate, head coaching opportunities. It's just bonkers to me. And actually, I think one sort of underrated facet people aren't really talk about is special teams. Jake Elliott's just one of eight over 50-yard field goals this year, and he has to be better in crucial situations like that. Quarterbacks, look, I mean, just spoke about Hurts there briefly. He is good, but he's not really in that elite tier, the Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson tier. He's probably a little bit below that. And with the experience and the ability that Mahomes has, I just think the Chiefs are going to do it. It's just a painful end to the season if they do put off the three-peat for me as a Denver fan. But I've got them winning this one, and I think there is some value also in Chiefs to win by 1 to 6 points, which is 13-5. But I'll just stick with the Chiefs minus the one.
But there you go. At least we won't go 0-18 for the week between the three of us. So all
Good start.
all good. I've dipped into the specials tab here, where there's about 500 million markets. Obviously, it's a one-off game, so the bookmakers bring out any market, sort of anything that anyone can bet on. But yeah, we don't usually get this one on just regular season games. I've got both teams to convert a fourth down. It's 10 to 13, so not quite the sort of line you ideally would want. But yeah, throughout the season, both teams going at about 70% on their conversion rates. Eagles, of course, with the QB sneak, which is almost automatic as long as they mix it up, unlike the Bills did on 2 weeks ago. And yeah, just the way I think this game's going to go, I think the Eagles will have the lead going into the fourth quarter, meaning the Chiefs may be forced to go for a sort of 4th and 3, 4th and 5. And yeah, I do back Mahomes in that situation. So yeah, I think this is pretty likely. Both teams will go ahead. Definitely attempt a couple in the game, I reckon. So yeah, I would take the chance on both of them converting. So yeah, 10 to 13 that one.
Whoops. All right, my bad. I was on mute. I was responding to Liam about the fourth downs, the Eagles going for it. All right, let's just jump to mine here. Yeah, I don't have a model for these next two game props, so this is going to be like a counter narrative one. I'm going to go shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards. And the reason I'm going to do is we're getting plus 170 here. So this is a response, of course, to the notion that you could have a tush push situation here for the Eagles, especially if they get to the one, they're very likely to score, and I think that's right. But you don't always get to exactly the one, and so my instinct here is just to fade the narrative and just say, hey, you know what? Circumstances might just not arise, and we're getting plus 170 to do it. So yeah, I'll roll with that one.
That's a good vibes pick. I like that one. That's a good chance. I like that. I will sort of follow the same ish vibe. I've got two sort of similar props here. It's a bit of a cop out. My first one, I'm taking first touchdown of the game to be rushing at 11 to 10. I'm pretty shocked this is at plus money, considering two teams combined for 9 rushing touchdowns in the conference championships. And the Eagles have the highest rush to pass ratio, TD, touchdown ratio in the league during the regular season. The Chiefs do actually just about edge the pass to rush TD ratio, but we've sort of seen this Chiefs backfield has been so rotated during the season. It's been sort of been hard for them to get a constant going throughout the season. So with the rushing success these teams have had during the postseason, particularly in the red zone, and you factor in both quarterbacks, mobile, can scramble, Mahomes always finds a way to use his feet in the playoffs, especially in the biggest games. And unfortunately, Seth, along with the fact that the Eagles are an automatic touchdown from the 1 yard line, plus money here did feel too good to turn down. So first touchdown of the game rushing at 11 to 10.
Yeah, I'd be fully on board with that, mate. My final game prop is over 2.5 Russian touchdowns in the game. 4 to 5. Quite like that value. Really, just sort of a value pick here. Thought the line would probably be 3.5, maybe two each. But yeah, both teams ranking in the top 10 in passing defense in the sorry, passing touchdowns allowed per game. They're in the top 10 for the best in the league. And then they're top 10 for rushing touchdowns per game on offense over the regular season. And obviously, as you just mentioned, they combined for 9 or 10 on the championship weekend. I can't remember how many. I know the Eagles got 7. I think the Chiefs got 2 or 3. But yeah, just like the value there, 4 to 5, over 2.5 rushing touchdowns.
Nice, nice. Okay, give me most time of possession. I'm going Chiefs at plus 125. So I think the obvious, you hear that question, you think automatically Eagles, right? Because you're thinking, well, the Eagles are the running team, Chiefs are the passing team, and those reputations are justified. Like the Eagles are one of the most run heavy in terms of pass rate over expectation. The Eagles have one of the lowest rates in the league. Chiefs have one of the highest. And what I mean by that is if we look at next gen stats, a model that's accounting for game situation, we see that like however, given whatever the score, yard line, down distance, the rate at which we expect teams to pass, the Chiefs pass much higher than expected, Eagles much lower than expected. But okay, that doesn't mean necessarily that the Eagles will dominate the time of possession. For one thing, it's going to be game script oriented. The team that's leading is going to be much more likely to have possession. The Chiefs are favored in this game. And so I think to get plus 20, 25 in a game when you're a light favorite is pretty nice. And then also, if we think about the way that the Chiefs operate, this is not an explosive offense. Like they have one of the lowest rates in the league of 40 plus yard plays. What they do is they convert third downs and they move the chains. And that kind of possession style of offense, regardless of whether you are running or passing, just tends to lead to holding the ball more. And so to me, it's playing the number here, playing that plus 125. That's why I like Kansas City.
Yeah, I can't quite believe this, Liam. We actually have the same pick. I've also got over two and a
You've
half
got the
rushing touchdowns.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I just following on from what Seth said. Then we know this Chiefs offense is sort of just death by a thousand cuts, and they
Yeah.
will have the ball for a long time, even if they aren't running it very well. Just because there are those 5, 6 yard plays. 3rd and 8, if they get to 4th and 2, they're probably going to convert on either Mahomes with his legs or Kelsey will always come up clutch in the biggest games. So I am somewhat just sort of farming rushing props, but the same logic sort of does apply. I do think this game will probably be played a lot on the ground from the Eagles, so it's going to sort of be waiting for the deeper shots, maybe to open up for Kansas if they can sort of get their running game going. We obviously spoke before about their offense, but in a game where there's a projected 48 points, so let's say 6 touchdowns, 2 field goals, or roughly 7 touchdowns, I can't see a way that there's a Chiefs explosive play or a Hurts 30, 40 yard pass that gets converted for a touchdown. I just think over 2.5 is far too many. I was surprised the line wasn't 3.5 as well. And even then, I probably would have taken the over and probably would have got an even better price. So yeah. Um, Obviously, I mentioned before about the Chiefs in the red zone. They do pass a fair amount, but the way the sort of Chiefs operate with their sort of scripted passes, the sideways or backwards passes, and there's also the worthy threat coming out of the backfield, or Hunt, Pacheco, Carson Steele, take your pick. I do just think we're more likely to see more action on the ground in the red zone than we are through the air. So yeah, I will also join you on over 2.5 rushing touchdowns.
Very nice, mate. Very nice. Let's kick it off with player props. Yeah, this one's for you, Seth. Here, we're going to go Chamari Connor, the DB of the Chiefs, over 4.5 tackles and assists. I've got here. 10 to 13 is the number. He actually leads the team of tackles this postseason at 14. He's joined there with Drew Tranquil, the linebacker. Now, just what stood out to me is Tranquil's line is 6.5. That's at 20 to 27, so a lot of juice you're buying there. Whereas this one is 4.5 at 10 to 13. So yeah, really just a value pick. Um, don't can't say I know much about him. Can't say I've seen many of his tackles, but he's number 27 and he's going to be getting stuck in the game. So yeah, over 4.5 tackles and assists.
Nice. I love the defense. I'm disappointed because I've got my tackle model and I went to pull up Connor and I realized I don't have a number for him. There's probably a rogue NA somewhere that's throwing him out. But you know what? Why don't I stick with it? Well, I'll go tackle first here. So I'll stick with the tackles. I've got Zach Bond under 10.5 tackles plus assists. It's combined tackles. I make him 9.1. Is my number for Bond. Amazing year for Bond, incredible season. A defensive player of the year candidate. You look at all the metrics, he's been fantastic. That all tracks. 10.5 is a high line. There are times when my model gets there that that could justify it, but I don't think this is going to be that spot. We're only talking about a 1.5 point favorite. So he's a linebacker. So what are the factors that leads to linebackers getting to 11 tackles? You're going to be on the losing team most likely and playing a run heavy team. They may well be on the losing team, but it's very close to 50-50. I don't think that we can go and expect that. And then Kansas City, I've already talked about, they're a pass heavy team. So that just doesn't play into the hands of Bond getting tackles. If you look at all the numbers for linebackers, their tackle rates versus run plays versus pass plays, it's a very stark split. And so that's why I'm at 9.1 for him when the line is 10.5. It's minus 135 at ESPN Bet. So it's not that far of a difference from me given the vig on that side. But yeah, under 10.5 for Zach Bond.
Just have a look. He's also only gone over 10.5 once in the last 6 games. So
Okay.
just a little boost there. I was desperate for you to have
That's
a number
okay,
for.
but here,
Go
be
on.
careful. Be careful with that, right? Because like in order to be in the Super Bowl, you need to have won your last few
Yeah,
games. When you win the games, your linebackers are much less likely to get to 11 tackles.
yeah. And funny enough, no, he got 12 last game, and then he got 10 in the loss against Washington.
Oh yeah,
So
well, it can happen. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So I was just desperate for you to have a number for Jamari Connor that was like 1.3 or something,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
just way under.
I know. Now, I'm sad. I'm gonna have to investigate why I don't have a number for him.
All right, great. I'm all about the rush in this game, all about the rush. I've got a special here for Saquon Barkley, 35 plus rushing yards in both halves. I just it's 1 to 2,
Ooh.
so it's just about in the
Oh,
allowed
okay.
odds. Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna
it's
say, I was
not
like, whoa.
the odds aren't fantastic, but I do think it is really good value. And at risk of overcomplicating something very simple, the Eagles' game plan is going to revolve around Saquon. Teams have found it increasingly difficult to stop him. Stacking the box leaves you prone to him breaking off that long TD run that we saw against the Rams, saw against the Washington Commanders. And he's effective on the zone runs as he is through the interior as well. So I had a little look at his first and second half splits. Interestingly, he averages 4.8 yards per carry in the first half. And then typically when the Eagles get further ahead, 6.7 yards per carry. He is at his best when the Eagles are protecting a lead, with half his total carries coming when the Eagles are ahead as well. I just think, look, I've got a prop later that sort of kind of contradicts this, but not really. I just think he's going to get at least 20 to 25 carries. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was sort of split at nine in the first half, 13 in the second half. Either way, yeah, 35 rushing yards in either half for Saquon just doesn't feel like a lot to me. So yeah, taking that.
Yeah, seems a little bit of a banker. Let's keep it with the rush. Why not? Patrick Mahomes over 5.5 rush attempts. Um, Again, it's 4 to 5. I couldn't get any decent numbers on these, but they were just the set lines on Bet365. Playoff games this year: 7 against the Texans, I think, and 11 against the Bills, or it's the other way around. 9 in last year's Super Bowl, 6 the year before, and just a 5 in 2021. But that was a bit of a bloodbath against the Bucks. Just thought this line feels too low, especially the fact that kneeling counts as well on a rush attempt because technically he's just rushing for -1 yard. So I'd rather take the attempts than the yards because his line for the yards was above 30, and don't feel too confident in taking that with Mahomes. So yeah, just like the value here, over 5.5 rushing attempts for Mahomes.
Nice. You gotta get those kneels at the end too, if it could work out for you.
Even one at halftime as well.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna go. All right, I'm going back to my bread and butter here. We're gonna go sacks. Jalen Carter under half a sack at minus 180. So it's not a sexy bet. It's like the least under sacks unders. It's like the least fun bet to make because you're just sitting there watching every single play you could lose the bet and then you have to wait, have to not lose the bet the whole game. But it's where I show the most. It's where I have the most success. So Jalen Carter, under half a sack, minus 180, good player. Tougher matchup here. He's going against Mahomes, who has been historically great at avoiding sacks. He has not been as good this season, but still better than average. But Carter plays almost always opposite the right side of the offensive line. That means he's going to be getting Trey Smith, and who's a good guard. And the Chiefs have a weakness at guard on the left side with Caliendo, but Trey Smith on the right side should be pretty good. So minus 180 for a defensive tackle. He's got only got 6.5 tackle, only 6.5 sacks all year, including the postseason. He is playing much, much more in the postseason, but I did factor that into the model. And I think I have him at around minus 240 is for the under. 240, 245 is my under price on Jalen Carter.
Lovely. There we go. The first sack prop, and yeah, I always love to see it. Always love to see it. I was looking at Nolan Smith's line as well. I don't know if you've got anything
I
about
can
that maybe coming up, but
what's his I'll give you my number for Nolan Smith and then
yeah, go on. Do you want to do it now quickly? I was just looking at it and I've lost it.
sure,
Believe
Isn't he's just even money to get a sack, isn't he? I think I saw.
even money over a half.
over a half. Well, I've got, let's see, I can give you Nolan Smith. No, I would not like that. I would make his fair price to go over at plus 132.
Okay. So you think no at 10 to 13 or minus 130 is not bad?
I think it's like yeah, basically fine. You're getting a fair bet. I wouldn't call it, you're barely getting any value at all, but it's a fair bet.
All right. Well, thankfully that is not my bet. I'm taking I'm just taking I'm taking Isaiah Pacheco under 6.5 rush attempts, 20 to 29. My sort of pre-playoff preconception of how the Chiefs would use Pacheco has just been completely wrong. Hunt's actually been pretty good, and he's sort of the clear RB1 in Kansas, at least for the next game. And he's only had 10 carries total in the playoffs, five in each game. And he's actually gone under 20 yards in both games, but I wasn't really confident taking his rushing line just in case he does breaks one of those long runs off. Chiefs, as we mentioned before, favored here, albeit barely. If the game does end up slipping away from them, or if they're chasing a deficit at any point, I doubt Pacheco is going to even see the field. He's not amazing in pass protection. Hunt takes the majority of the snaps. And there's even less chance for Pacheco to have an impact on the game. I think sadly, sort of since his injury, he's not really been the same player. He came back end of the year and was averaging sort of 3.5 yards per carry. Didn't look great. Yeah, I still just about prefer his attempts versus his rushing line against a pretty stout Eagles defense. I think Hunt's going to have the majority of the carries, so Pacheco under 6.5 rush attempts.
I think that makes sense. I've been, one I agree with like what you said. However, I've also been looking, I haven't seen it, but I would love if I could find an alt attempt, something like Pacheco, 14 plus attempts or something like that at a big price. I wonder if there's like a tail outcome bet there where it's, oh, he breaks off a couple of big ones early and then they end up going with the hot hand, leaning on him. Um, I think it's unlikely, but I assume it's in the cards. I haven't seen that, but I just wonder about those kind of like alt prices for him. But I agree that the median outcome is he doesn't get used that much.
Yeah, we on a book here there's 10 plus, which is 17 to 2, which I think is like plus 850.
Ooh, that's a little interesting, I think. I
Mm,
don't know.
It's the
I do
same.
agree.
It's the
Like,
same price as Mahomes.
yeah, that's pretty
It's
crazy.
crazy.
It could just be the hot hand, but just the way Pacheco's looks, I can't see it happening.
Nice, mate. I will make my last pick of the season. Got a little bet builder combining two here. Or I mean, it's sort of one bet in all. It's neither quarterback to throw an interception. So I've just gone under on Mahomes and under on Hurts. It's 2-1. They haven't thrown an interception. Mahomes since week 10, Hurts since week 9. Just feel like these guys are playing so well right now. They're protecting the football. I just can't see them making a mistake in obviously on the bigger stage. Again, really just a value play here rather than anything more to it. If there is a turnover the game, I do like a fumble at 2-1, for it to be the first turnover, that is. Or even I think there might not be a turnover in this game, and that's 14-1. So definitely little side bets I'll place, but I'll be happy with no QB to throw a pick at 2-1.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I got this right. I'm gonna go with, yep, AJ Brown, 150 or more receiving yards at 18-1. We're just playing the tails here.
Nice.
So yeah, so you can bet this one at ESPN Bet. I've got this model that basically produces the full range of outcome for a receiver in terms of receiving yards, and I use it to bet alts. And so they've got these bands you can look at, 41 to 50 yards or 101 to 110 yards, and I priced them all out. Anyway, there's a few spots I like, but I like Brown at 150 plus. To me, what I'm getting there is just an elite receiver. I mean, do I think he's going for 150 plus? No, but there is a very good chance that on a route to route basis, AJ Brown was the best wide receiver in football this year. Our player tracking numbers just love him. He gets open at an exceptional rate. And so 18-1, man, you could I think you could do a lot worse than that. I'm looking at, let me see. I have this one priced at I have it priced at about 1350. So yeah, I'll take 18-1 on AJ Brown, sure.
Yeah, if I
Just
could shake your
for
hand right now, I would. That's a sensational bet to bring to the game. Go on, him.
just for a
Thank
bit of
you.
context here, well, there's two things. I've actually just seen this. There's a sort of special on Bet365 here. Oh no, that's Devontae Smith as well. Ignore me, ignore me. I found a good one. What was 18-1 as well? Um, so you can decide whatever is more likely in the game. So obviously, as you picked there, AJ Brown, 150 yards, or a quarterback to record a reception in the game is also 18-1. So if you
Ooh.
sort of weigh it up like that, you've got to
Oh,
think the value is with AJ Brown there,
taking
100%.
Brown
Yeah.
any day of the
Yeah.
week. All right, I'll finish it off. Finish off the season's picks. Sort of actually in line, strangely enough, with AJ Brown potentially getting 150 receiving yards. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts' passing attempts over 27 and a half. Obviously, you mentioned before the Eagles are probably going to try and run the ball as much as possible, but this is a matchup where they are projected to lose. And considering the last time these two met, I feel like Hurts will probably have to throw more than perhaps Sirianni or he himself wants to. And to have success offensively, they can't run the ball every single play. Obviously, it's not possible. It is going to be really interesting to see what Spags cooks up because so I feel like we know he's playing well, serviceably in this offense, but I feel he is privy to looking a tad uncomfortable in the pockets at times. He does bail when he doesn't need to. And now he goes up against arguably the best coordinator in the league at dialing up pressure. The game script in my head is they try and run the ball as much as possible. The game might get away from them a little bit, and then they end up throwing it sort of towards the end. But yeah, I like Hurts having to throw a little bit more than usual. And funnily enough, I mentioned this. Yeah, I also like AJ Brown's receiving overs. So he is fantastic against man coverage, and the Chiefs run that at the fifth highest rate in the league. So Jalen Hurts over 27 and a half pass attempts at 20 to 21 to round off my picks.
Ooh, that's an interesting one for you considering how run heavy you were with your other props.
Yeah, I know. It is going to be running, but I think the game will slip away from the Eagles and
Right.
sort of 10, 12 minutes left. You can't put the ball in Saquon's hands every drive. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have to make some plays.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they don't have to all work in tandem. You can get a, you can Value's value if you find it.
Yeah, I mean, I would take 5-1 right now if offered. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
let's hope though. 18 though. Well, we can't, can we? Because Liam and I are going against each other. 17-1, sure. Um, all right, Liam, do you want to go through your picks again? Seth, you can go through yours again, and I'll go through mine.
sure.
Yeah, I went Eagles plus 1.5. Both teams to convert a fourth down. Over 2.5 total rushing touchdowns. Player props: Chamari Connor over 4.5 tackles and assists. Mahomes over 5.5 rush attempts, and finally, no quarterback to throw an interception.
Nice. I went for, let's see, Chiefs to win time of possession plus 125. Chiefs under 3.5 sacks minus 145. I went for shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards plus 170. My three-player props were Jalen Carter under half a sack. That is minus 180. Zach Bond under 10.5 tackles plus assists, minus 135. And then AJ Brown, 150 plus, 18 to 1 at ESPN bet. That's my favorite
That's,
one. How could it not be?
I was just about to say we usually do a player of the week as well, and we've completely forgotten to mention it so far. Liam, do you wanna, what's your best bet this week?
Ooh, let's go to defense. Chamari Connor. Let's go tackles.
Seth?
Wow, okay. I mean, if I'm being honest, I always gotta go. I mean, like I gotta go tried and true with the proven. So give me Jalen Carter's under at my minus 180. But like in my heart, of course, the AJ Brown bet.
All right, cool. My props were first touchdown against you rushing 11-10, over 2.5 rushing touchdowns. Chiefs minus the one, and I've got Saquon 35 plus rushing yards in both halves. Isaiah Pacheco under 6.5 rush attempts, and Jalen Hurts over 27.5 pass attempts. I think if I was to choose a favorite, it's probably the Saquon one. I feel that's a bit of a gimme. So first touchdown in the game to be rushing, 11-10, I think would be my best bet for the game. Right. Those are the picks. The whole season's done. Very sad. Seth, thank you so much for joining us and imparting your wisdom as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Always fun chatting with you guys.
Nice one. Liam, thanks for joining me for the whole season. Been great having you on.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Yeah, absolute pleasure.
And everyone else, as always, thank you for listening and catch you next season.